Configuration management system, CMS, similar to all the other systems that we talked about. It's a set of tools and databases that are used to manage an IT service provider's configuration data. So all the data concerning your configuration items are stored within your configuration management system. CMS can also include information about incidents, problems, known errors, changes, releases, information about employees, suppliers, locations, business units, customers, and users. The reason why all of the information could be involved in your CMS is because when properly done, your configuration items would be linked to all of those various components. So for instance, a configuration item such as a server or a web application, etc., could also be tracked through incident management. So if people are routinely having the same issue with the same configuration item, that configuration item may have information related to known issues or known errors, incidents about that configuration item. It could also have information about who the owners are of that configuration item, who the users are, when's the last time it's been updated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So in ITIL, the ideal is not just to have a list of configuration items, right? We have 3 servers, we have 2 flat screen TVs, we have 400 laptops. That information is more of a list of inventory. When you start to identify and make connections between the configuration items and other process and systems, then that's when you start to build your configuration management system. And you can look at a CI and look to see what services it supports, which users have access to it. You can also look to see if there have been any incidents associated with the CI, etc. So it takes it a step further from just having a list of inventory to something that's usable. We can get more information about the configuration item. And once again, because it's a configuration item and we want to control it, we want to know what's going on with it. We want to know what it supports, who uses it, if there's been any problems, etc. That's our way of just controlling that item. All right, CMS includes tools for collecting, storing, managing, updating, and presenting data about all configuration items and their relationships. So once again, we're not just concerned with, okay, you have a Lenovo laptop that does nothing for us. What does that mean as it relates to our configuration management system? The CMS is maintained by configuration management and is used by all service management processes. So if the operations team needs to know what equipment is assigned to the incident manager or the IT service delivery manager, that person should be able to rely on the configuration management system to pull that information. So the CMS is maintained by configuration management and is owned by the configuration manager. However, it's used by all IT service management processors. Okay. Definitive media library and definitive spares. So we talked about CIs, and within the square in the middle of this diagram, we see that there are electronic CIs, physical CIs, right? There's some disk here, these look like floppy disk actually, some CDs, some other CIs that I can't see, but it looks as if they store information. And then there's a line here to something called a CMDB, which is the Configuration Management Database, which has information about the CIs. So as a whole, this entire square here in the light blue could be considered your CMS. But it's just important to know that your definitive media library contains all types of information, physical, electronic, information about a specific CI. It could be information about anything related to your configuration item.
Got it.
Okay, configuration model. So if we're thinking about an organization as a whole, this model helps us to better understand what could be a CI. So you start here with your customer, your service level package, and the service portfolio. The customer signs a contract, and that contract contains information on the service level package. So that contract itself can be a configuration item. That contract could also have information about banking core services, which could also be a configuration item. And that banking core service, such as providing loans to small businesses or individuals, is serviced by e-banking support service. That service is supported by an application, which is hosted by an application hosting service that uses a technical infrastructure service. Give me one moment. And that technical infrastructure service, is made up of network service, authentication, network topology. And so if we think about just the customer, a service level package, establishing a service, and having a contract, it's important to understand that those items are configuration items. And so in order to understand the elements of those items, there are a lot of other things that are considered. They can trace all the way down to something as simple as your network service. Once again, not going to be on the test, but just for your awareness.
That's good, because I was trying to think of, like, what would that question look like?
Yeah, no, not a question, just food for thought. Okay, change management. Not to be confused with configuration management, and sometimes organizations merge change management and configuration management together. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but ITIL recognizes that change management as its own process instead of lumping it with configuration management. So change management. The purpose is to have standardized methods and procedures that are used for efficient and prompt handling of all changes. Also, all changes to CIs are recorded in the configuration management system. So typically that's why change management and configuration management go hand in hand, because anytime there's a change, that typically prompts a change to a configuration item. So for instance, if we're thinking about service strategy, and we're thinking about our contract agreement that we have with IBM, and say that contract changes and there's a modification to that contract, that change could potentially trigger a change to a configuration item, a service, a resource, a piece of equipment, a facility. And so typically, change management and configuration management go hand in hand. However, change management is important enough to be a standalone process in ITIL. Goals of change management: respond to customer changing business requirements while maximizing value and reducing incidents, disruption, and rework. So yes, we want to make sure that we're changing and adapting to business requirements. However, we don't want to just implement some changes and then we have a spike in incidents. People are disrupted because they can't access the systems that they need to access. Or the team is misinformed, so they keep working, not realizing a change has been implemented, and then have to go back and redo all of the work that they've already done, which has happened to me millions of times. Another goal of change management is to respond to business and IT requests for changes that would align with the services and the business needs. What is a change? ITIL's definition of a change is the addition, modification, or removal of an authorized CI that could have an effect on IT services. So it's important to know that definition: addition, modification, and removal of an authorized CI. So we're not just talking about something that was already in existence and we changed it. Change management is also considering things that are brand new to the organization. So if we're implementing a new service, we're hiring for a new, we're hiring a new position for a new position that is new to the organization. We're having a new supplier. And of course, the removal of authorized CI. The objective is to ensure that changes are recorded and then evaluated, authorized, prioritized, planned, tested, implemented, documented, and reviewed in a controlled manner. So this, as you can see, it's the same types of themes with ITIL. We're not just doing stuff, right? We make a plan to do something, right? Evaluated, authorized, prioritized, planned. We're testing it. We're analyzing it. We're discussing it. It's agreed upon. So practices over and over. And everything that's done is done so in a changed manner, in a controlled manner. So types of changes. These are important to note. A normal change. So a normal change follows a normal change process and needs a change advisory board. Do you all have change advisory boards or CCBs at your organization?
Nope.
You can know? Okay.
Oh, no. We certainly don't.
Okay. So this will be a new concept. However, it's not difficult to understand. So a normal change typically it follows a normal change process. So for instance, there's a program manager who wants to purchase a new piece of equipment. The equipment cost $5,000. It's necessary. The program manager needs it. However, the program manager just cannot simply go out and buy this piece of equipment or charge it to his personal account and then get the organization to reimburse him. So in a normal change process, we would have a form or request for change. It's called an RFC, and it's a form that formally requests that a change be implemented. So for instance, let me pause to see if I can bring up one really quickly.
What does RFC stand for?
Request for change.
Oh.
That's okay. So the request for change would have information about the change itself. So who's asking for the change? When would you like the change to be implemented? What are what are you proposing that the change look like? What are any associated CIs? Let me just pull one so you can take a look and see this.
I think the
Okay, this is,
closest thing we have is the request for a new headcount to add a position.
okay.
And I believe that those are referred to as RFCs.
Okay. Okay, so here is an example of one. I just found a template online.